Good to go.
All right. Hi, everybody. We're going to be talking about chatbots today. So I am your presenter. My name is Len Zhao. I work for the University of Alberta. I live in a very loud household. So today, I mainly work on kind of a few different projects. So I work on enterprise content management, robotic process automation, and chatbots. So my technology ethos is that those who understand technology, I feel like we have a responsibility to educate and broadcast that knowledge to those that don't. And it may just be by happenstance, right? Technology is becoming more and more dominant in the landscape of like every profession now. And so those that are fortunate to kind of be working in technology, I think there's a lot of benefit for us to educate those that may not be working into the state of the day. So for chatbots today, I want to do kind of four major objectives. Number one, I want to razzle and dazzle you with some numbers. And then I want to talk about how we started our journey and kind of where we ended up with. I'll be doing a little bit of a demo. I think a lot of the proof of the pudding's in the tasting. So seeing it kind of says 1,000 words. So we'll get to the good stuff as soon as possible. And then we'll talk about how it benefited so far. So spoiler alert, it's not going to make you rich like Bitcoin. It's much more about the experience that it gives you. So why is everyone talking about chatbot? I'll kind of state this right off the bat. I'm probably the biggest chatbot skeptic. When we embarked upon this journey a year ago, we had a big session where there was a bunch of people, like 20 people in the working group, and I just kind of did one of those rhetorical questions, like how many people have used chatbots? And like everyone rose up their hands, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna double down on this. How many people had a good experience? And I would say more than half the room kept it up. You know, they were like, yeah, okay, yeah, it was actually not that bad. Um, and so I think this has become like a very dominant mega trend in the industry. This is something that's not going away. So when I razzle and dazzle you with these numbers, I just want you to think about the number and then whether or not it's going to go up or go down over the course of, I don't know, the next 5-10 years. So kind of the first one here, 25% of customer support will be integrating with chatbots, basically. Um, is this something that's probably going to grow or something that's going to scale back? My theory is that it's going to grow here. Of course, we are all concerned about ROI and getting cost savings. Um, this is a stat that's 75%. So it's not everyone. So it's important to know that this is still like a budding industry, and it's something that the landscape is very confusing. And to implement the strategy is not like quite as mature as some of the other products out there. So keep in mind whether or not you think more people will gain value, like dollars, in this or less. And then of course, we're looking to hopefully make the experience better, right? We don't want to make the experience worse. we we generally want to make the experience better. But if you think about the legacy methods of getting support, like a person's best, a phone call is best, and sure enough, those are very good. Like speaking to a person is a great experience. But how many times have you called in and before you could even say anything, the operator picks up and says, "Hey, can I put you on hold, please?" And you're like, "No," and then you're on hold already, right? So that's something to keep in mind, like that, or that you're lining up for the registrar and you see this gigantic lineup, and you're like, this is not a good experience. Or you send an email and you're wondering, are they gonna email me back or what? What's going on here? Did they receive my email? So we want to use chatbots to make that better over time. So why is it good? It's 24/7, as you can imagine. It's quicker than email. You can kind of train once and there's like an infinite supply, right? Like it's not like you train an employee and then whether that employee is there or not, you get that experience. You train once and then everyone has the same consistent experience, the same consistent answer. You ask what the fee for a new dongle for your laptop is, it's the same fee every time. You're getting quoted by a system instead of someone checking through various different sources of truth. And people want they want the consumer experience more and more like in the context, right? Like, so instead of like going out and finding the answers in different places, they almost want that Siri or Alexa, sorry if I triggered anyone's computers in the home, to just ask the question and let the system take care of it. And it's something that's improving and evolving over time. So how do we get up this kind of ramp of innovation? So Akshay previously had mentioned the MVP models and kind of getting from ideation to pilot. That's exactly the way we followed. So that's perfect. Whatever he said, it applies here. We basically took a look and said, what's out in the market? Do we build? Do we buy? Do we leverage what's available? What is available? What are the capabilities? And we did a really small kind of experiment that led into that led into a larger project and the eventual execution into our full-scale pilot and then production. So what we did was the battle of the bots. Like we really like took a very experimental approach to this. We did a lot of different experiments. So we did a homegrown one with Watson. We did Ivy. We had another homegrown one with Dialogflow. That is the Google one. We had Yana, which is yet another one that we tried. And then we eventually went to RFP, landed with what we got now. So I'm going to show you a demo of the products to give you kind of a scaling of or a visual representation for you to go off of here. So here we have the registrar's office. So on here, let's zoom in a little bit here. You have a little bubble. You click that little bubble, and you get a bunch of little pop-ups here. Zoomed in, so the responsive design can only be so responsive. And if you wanted to know how to apply, you click how to apply, and see. You notice that it's not giving me a gigantic paragraph of information here. It's giving me a hyperlink. The idea is like, this is a pretty nice site. This has a lot of information on it. It is a very complex well, it shouldn't be a complex process, but it has a lot of steps. And to represent it this way is probably more ideal. To cram this into a box like this is probably not ideal, right? So so that's why if you have good sources of information, leverage that as best you can. If you have knowledge-based articles, if you have websites do it, use that. You can also like ask it a question, be like, what is the tuition fee, and get some more specific answers, or what is the admission fee, and get a very specific answer. This also has the capability, because it's now on a digital platform, you're able to ask it in different languages. So my Spanish is not so good, so I had done this earlier. And it's a Google translated answer, but you get the gist of it. Yeah, we serve a very international audience nowadays, so having that accessibility is become more and more important. So people can get service 24/7. They can get a consistent answer, and they're able to, if they have a barrier with language, be able to utilize this. We also have a brand new one coming out. This is our IST one, or IT one, sorry, I should say. And this one has a little bit more fancy stuff to it. We utilize a lot more forms. So if we love these hot buttons. They're all customizable. It's great to just get people to the answers really quickly. You can submit a support request, and you can fill in the answers. This goes into our ServiceNow instance, or I guess it goes into our queue, which then gets triaged, and we're hoping to get more and more integration over time. When you're done with it, you just simply click the close button. Feedback is very important. I'll talk a little bit about that afterwards. But now I wanted to kind of segue really quickly into the backend, because I'm sure a lot of people are curious about how the backend looks. So this is our backend system. So from like an administrative point of view, this is what you would see. So I'm just going to show you a very high level overview of it. So this is my dashboard. I can see that there's been over 200,000 messages sent to us over the past, I guess, all time. So it's been about 2 years almost. A total of 167 conversations, those unique conversations. We can see like what the hours are. So what this is all meaning is that people are utilizing it. People are utilizing it quite a bit. You're looking at 10,000 on average, almost calls per month. Like that's a lot. Like even if you say half of those were, for whatever reason didn't work out well, that's still 5,000 times. How long is the interaction, right? You're looking at like maybe 5 minutes. That's 25,000 minutes a month you might end up be getting, right? So it's a really, really big deal in terms of the volumes it provides. Volume it helps fulfill. You can see a lot of information. on it. You're also able to not only see the the high level data, you can drill in very deeply too into the actual intents and to say like, this is a heat map of the topics and how many questions are being asked there. Using this data, it's a very data rich program. You're able to use this to help drive what you want to maybe create more content on, or what you may want to focus on or market better. So if I look into applications and let's say deadline, I can actually view like the details of like how they're asking those questions, and that could help drive how we kind of create some of the answers, right? So there's a lot of information there. We also have built into our system a live agent capability. So this is basically being able to have a fallback. So when the bot can't answer it, the live agent system takes over, and then a person can type in. This has been really important because all of this coming together. I mentioned that feedback at the end. It's been very useful to see what people are saying about the bot, seeing if it's getting them the answers that they want, and gathering that type of information. So I'm going to segue back to my presentation here. And then I'm going to talk about how it's helped us so far. So Vera is the name that the personality that we put to our bot here. So this is a little outdated now, but we've had a lot of chats since launch. So that means that people are utilizing it, and that rate of trajectory is going up. The accuracy of the interactions has been improving as well. So that means like when they're coming in and they're asking questions, this is not where it started. So it honestly started quite, it was quite challenging because you had this initial subset of content, you put it in, and then people ask what they ask, right? And then you get all kinds of different questions come through. Then you start shaping out what people's demand are, right? We did internal testing, but as you might guess, that doesn't replicate real world sometimes. But over time, that accuracy level improves. So when they're coming in, they get an answer 93% of the time. That's not to say that answer is absolutely correct and desirable, but they're getting something. There is a 7% time where it's just simply, this is something that I do not know. I'll have to go to a fallback method. Here's kind of it was a really humbling stat for me to take a look now at the content that it has. So if it knows the answer, it's different than if you don't know the answer. A lot of our ratings generally fall between 5 and 1. Like distribution is 5 or 1. So if it answers the question, generally it's a 5. Like, hey, you got me to my answer, I'm happy. If you get a 1, that's generally because it didn't give me the answer. And it could be content that simply isn't there. We could tell the user, hey, this one only has these 4 things you can ask it. But then we run the risk of not knowing what they actually want. And so that doesn't give us a chance or ability to evolve or improve over time, right? And so these are taking questions such as like, how do I apply transcript requests, like specific ones where it had specific counts and specific numbers, and take a look at the how do I apply over email. It went from 2000 in 2018 to next to nil. I mean, there's a lot of things that probably attribute to this, but the bot was definitely one of them. So when you take content that you know is very popular and needs to be answered, this is a very effective method of reducing some of those volumes. And it probably means a much better experience, right? They're not asking a lot of different places and getting a lot of different answers, getting the same consistent answer 24/7, wherever they are. So I cut that real short in hopes that there's some questions. I do have the bot still up, so if you want to kind of ask questions where I can show, I'd be more than happy to do that as well. So is there any questions from the chat?
Lynn, there is one question. What's the current behavior if the bot doesn't find what I'm looking for?
Sure. Yeah, I can trigger that. So this is the current behavior. I gotta check my hours. So this might this might cause me some trouble here. If I do a fallback, okay, so it's not live. So we have a live agent hours. So that's when we have a live agent staffed and ready. We just started noon, actually. That's why it turned off. But when they're out for lunch or they're not there, it goes to this form for me to fill in, and I fill in the form. submit it, and then somebody will get back to me. So there's kind of a dual method there. We leave that up to our individual constituents. So we have a few different constituents. It's a big apartment building with a lot of different condos. We maintain all the same infrastructure, but the condos themselves are maintained by, like, registrar's office, IT, our card office, and soon to be some more offices like our phys ed offices as well. So this is what happens. Was there any other questions here? I'm trying to get the chat up at the same time.
Right now there aren't, but I really appreciate your presentation. We're pretty much out of time. 20-minute sessions are quite quick and rapid, but I really appreciate you providing this information. I don't know if you'll be able to stick around for the virtual chat or virtual cafe towards the end of the day that we're kind of adding in. If you are, feel free to join and maybe talk more about Chatbot.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, Lynn.